just going to grab me a water out my little fridge over here. I don't know if I want to do sparkling water or regular water, you guys. I think I will do regular water. I don't want to end up burping on the air, you know, with all of the bubbly bubs. Hey, everybody. This is a really important topic that, I want to get into with you guys today. And probably all of us can relate to this. Sometimes I still have to check myself with it. Dang, the waters in my fridge were freezing. Oh my gosh. I'm just giving it a moment. I did make the announcement on the private and public support groups that I would be going. When I make those announcements, you guys, that means probably within 15 minutes, my behind is going to be live on the channel. It's not like an hour later type of thing. How's everybody doing on this Sunday? Oh, heard one of the twins coming. My older daughter got to him. I was like, I'm going to have to let her in because she ain't trying to hear it. And, as I've been saying in my previous uploads, sometimes it's just a lot easier for me to go the live route because editing and waiting for uploads to upload on YouTube sometimes can be very timely. You can have an 8-minute video and it could be like a 2.5, 3-hour wait for that upload to complete. It'll let you know that, but nonetheless. How's everybody doing on this Sunday? Don't let the cat bite your tongue around here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump into this live because it will, re-upload for anyone that misses it anyway. But yeah, don't be so hard on yourself. This is probably one of the biggest things that survivors are susceptible to, especially after a toxic relationship, and even more so after narcissistic abuse. And why is this happening? You're just getting through dealing with a person that dumped everything on you, right? And then if for some of you who've had these patterns, it's been person after person. And then for some of you, where it's been even more deep rooted, we're talking about starting all the way back from your childhood, where everything is your fault, where you're the scapegoat, where you're just a lot of times surrounded by people who don't take accountability. Yeah. But before I get into this a little bit more heavily, I do want to say, first and foremost, when I say don't be so hard on yourself, I'm not talking about enabling or encouraging yourself to continue or maintain poor behaviors and habits and choices. So I just want to say that right off the rip here. I don't want you to be weak in that way where, you messed up for the millionth time and, you're being coddled. And that is not the energy that I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about for the typical survivor who's extreme with it. Like you hold yourself to larger accountabilities than you do others. You're more willing to forgive other people who have hurt you over and over than to even forgive yourself for being in a pure heart of trying to be with someone. You can. Hold on a minute. You can. So, yeah. So I just wanted to make that disclaimer because I'm not, trying to make you more weakened, in any type of sense. I'm here to empower you. So I just had to make that disclaimer. I'm not trying to enable that poor behavior. All right. But I definitely don't want you to go from or to be on one end of the spectrum to another. All right. So, what's going to happen if you continue to be so hard on yourself? Let's just start there. By coming down on yourself negatively and in an extreme way or extreme manner, you're going to be standing your head a lot. You're definitely going to maintain being low vibrational. You're going to be maintaining that low self esteem. And you're going to subconsciously be blocking your advances or efforts or hopes for the future. Okay, so you're going to stay in that lack energy as well. You're going to be actually casting horrible word spells on yourself. And now I'm just talking about inner dialogues that we have. And it may be echoing the things that, those toxic people who weren't for you were saying and accusing you of when they were probably just projecting their mess onto you. But, when you hear that a lot over and over and you latch onto it, and maybe several toxic people have said this, it doesn't make it the truth, number one, just because a million people can be calling you something that you're not. So volume does not mean truth, But that inner dialogue and those negative thoughts that we're telling ourselves based off of our past experiences, just because you didn't get it right all those other times, it certainly doesn't mean that you're not going to get it right moving forward. And just the negative things that we tell ourselves, to all those I can't, I'm not, and then just all these statements like maybe next lifetime. You're just like ruling out your whole life, the rest of your life, of being able to accomplish something just because you couldn't do it with a source or a person that you weren't meant to accomplish it with to begin with. So all that stuff in the Bible about so as a man thinketh, it really doesn't matter, because if we think about this, and this is what might not seem fair to you guys sometimes, that narcissist, they might be a piece of shit, but on a certain level, even if it's on a conscious level, they're thinking that they're not. But just them being able to psych themselves out enough, that actually attracts them to higher vibrational people and people who are about something. Whether they deserve that or not, whether they can maintain it when they get it or not, or whether they sabotage it once they're granted to be into that space or not, that's a whole nother thing. But because they're willing, even though they really aren't that, to psych themselves out and believe that they should be this and that actually gives them those opportunities. I mean, they screw them up, but it gives them those opportunities. So you can take a page out of their book when it, comes to something like that. But in your case, you're already worthy of it, and you'll be able to maintain it as long as you're not carrying your toxic baggage with you into that situation. Then you won't be sabotaging. All right. Now let's talk about all of the inflictions that are coming with being so hard on yourself, because this is really serious. You're doing something like putting yourself in a sort of a self-imprisonment, a mental one, and then it'll become a physical one, because, the mind does follow the body. So that energy is spilling into all these areas of your life. And then, you're going to have self-sabotage. It's going to grow into an eventual self-hate, because you're going to feel like you're worthless and can't do this and can't do that right, can't do nothing right. The self-denial, like I said, of blocking yourself or thinking that you can't achieve the happiness or you can't achieve the goals that you set out for yourself. This can create or make you get into some type of self-harm. It's already self-harm, because you're self-defeated, the self-doubts, and then ultimately it's like a self-destruction, you guys, that's going on here. And you're rearing yourself off of your greater path, and you're choosing the path of, the least reward. Or basically, you're not even really tapping into your greatness at that point, you guys. And it also opens you up for self-blame. I want to mention that. And that's taking on not only your stuff, but other people's stuff. And a lot of times when we're being hard on ourselves, we're doing that. We're taking accountability for our mess, but we're also taking accountability for theirs. So it's going to be really important to, be able to sort that out somehow and know what's yours and know what's theirs. And it's having that unrealistic expectation on yourself as well should be brought to light here. And now we're talking about perfectionism. And a lot of empaths have that, which is why they don't want to stop loving someone. And this is ego-based as well, because you have an ego too. And you think, if I love this person hard and I give them this and that, it has to cause a shift in their life. They have to see it. It's going to have to reciprocate and come back to me, right? And, what we put out do come back, but not always from the source that we give it to. And especially, like I said yesterday, for things that aren't our assignment. All right. So if it's depleting you, it's not showing any signs of turning around or nothing, that's not your assignment. But then sometimes we get really stubborn about it when we convinced ourselves that it was. Okay. And as far as that whole perfectionism thing, no one's perfect. No one. And most successful people have failed horribly and majorly in life. They really have. They've had some major fails, you guys, before their greatest achievements. But imagine if they let those major fails, stop them from ever trying again or thinking that they couldn't have something. If they were so hard on themselves to where they weren't willing to say, okay, whoa, I really got it. Went in the left field that time, but this is how I went into the left field. I'm going back to the laboratory, and I know next time I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. And they strike out again. Bam. It was better for them. And another aspect, you guys, that I'll point out with this being hard on ourselves is downplaying your successes. Okay, yeah, you was in a toxic relationship. W-A-S. You was in a toxic relationship. There's a success right there because you've separated yourself right off the rip. That's growth. And I was just on a public support group and someone put up a stat and I had to jump in there and on the public support group and let them know, like, not exactly there. Not exactly the thought that I want you to hold on to. Let me try to pull it up because I don't want to get their words wrong here. Let me see. Let me go back up. Okay. So the survivor on a public support group put up a meme, and the meme said, "Isn't it pathetic how we waste so much time on certain people, and in the end, they prove that they weren't even worth a second of it." So she called this pathetic. And, I didn't want anybody, and I'm looking under it and I see all these teary eye emojis and stuff like that. Other survivors joining in and feeling, co-signing, yeah, we feel pathetic. But you know what? I had to say to them, it's not pathetic. It's a journey of discovery and growth. Those experiences help to shape us. Don't be so hard on yourself. The main thing is they eventually saw and grew from it. And that actually led me to come do this live chat. I said, you know what? Let's talk about not being so hard on ourselves, because when I look on a public support group, I do see a lot of memes of survivors really coming down hard on themselves for, experiencing that narcissistic abusive relationship, not getting out sooner, not seeing the signs sooner, or just for even having experienced it at all. And that's really not fair to yourself, especially once you're on the platform and you've gotten out of it. There's a sign right there that you haven't given up on yourself and that you're actually ready to be in a different energy and have a shift in your life. And as I say a lot of time in coaching sessions, those narcissistic abusive relationships, that can be the very catalyst that you need, because pain can be used to get people to change, Pain can be used in a positive sense. It doesn't feel good, but when you're going through it, but it got your attention, didn't it? All right. So we really have to let go of that perfectionism. Hi, Susan Little, and good afternoon to you, and welcome to the live chat. All right. So with that being said, we're going to be appreciating the incremental improvements. And obviously, when we're able to gradually improve, those usually be the most sustaining life changes or lifestyle changes that we can do. A lot of times when we go all in and we're going too hard too soon, we may be overloading ourselves. So it's okay to be gradually getting better. All right. But that perfectionism thing, we really have to let go of it, because we will drain ourselves that way, over killing ourselves, being stubborn about endings. And I've made videos about that, you guys. If you struggle with endings, if you see them all as negative, you really have to revisit your definitions on some of these things, because it'll, keep you in a toxic energy, and it'll make you be, self-defeating yourself or getting in your own way. All right. And the other thing about not showing gratitude or not acknowledging these smaller improvements or incremental improvements, psychologically, you're not rewarding yourself for the good behavior. So if you leave out of this toxic relationship and you're still being hard on yourself, and then that person comes back and love bombs you, would you be inclined to go back? At least the narcissist, whether they really are sincerely rewarding you or not, they're giving you some type of reward to come back to them. Oh, I'm going to play nice with you now. I'm going to talk nice with you now. They're giving you some type of reward. But here you are, you left out of that toxic situation and you've been beating yourself up the whole time. And you haven't really rewarded yourself. You haven't given yourself that positive acknowledgement. And oftentimes that's because you may be coming from an energy where you need other people to do it for you and validate you, or you're seeking that. And you don't need to be seeking that. You have to, learn how to fill your own cups at that point. So, yeah. Cheryl's Jones says, take baby steps. It will pay off in the end. Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you're able to do it that way, you can give a lot of attention to that one area and really conquer it and really, make ground on that or cover ground on that. And you can really, really put it to rest, if you will, because that's the problem. When you're not doing it properly, you have to keep going back to it over and over and over, you guys. And that's the frustrating part. And it's like, okay, I want to finally get to the bottom of it. Like when you really had your enough, it's like, okay, I don't care what I got to address, what I have to face within myself. I'm tired of these outcomes and I'm exhausted. I want more for myself. I'm ready to face whatever I have to face. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and do the work, the shadow work, face my inner child, all of those type of things, because something's got to give here. And I don't want to keep existing this way. And that's a beautiful place to get to. But oftentimes that's, we may have to reach a rock bottom with that. Or, you're going to have that really horrible connection, perhaps. And it'll be that catalyst for you. All right. So the last thing that I want to say here about the perfectionism theme anyway is it halts your harvest. Like you're planting a seed when you leave out of that relationship, or you're planting a seed when you're going to make that shift and change in your life. Then you're going to stop watering it. Or what are you watering it with at that point? Things that aren't actually going to foster it to grow when you are beating yourself up and being so hard on yourself. Like everybody else is allowed to be perfect but you. And I understand how this could be psychologically wired in your head. Like even as a child, maybe you weren't allowed, you better get straight A's, you better be prim and proper, or you better say yes to everything. Like a lot of times, there's been some severe grooming that you're really going to have to cleanse out of yourself and start having new types of thoughts and behaviors to replace that. But it's just knowing where you need to start from at least. Okay. That way we can get out of our own way, because this is going to sound really sad and hurtful, but you're abusing yourself at that point. You're actually abusing yourself at that point. Yeah, the narcissist was abusing you, but you're abusing yourself too now. And that is a hurt piece, that's a hurt piece. And once this is happening, depression can come in, anxiety, suicide can be, crimping up into the seam here, or, your mental health is just unstable here because you're in this undeserving energy. And what happens when we stay in that energy, the universe has to send you more lessons. That means, yeah, you're going to attract some more narcissistic relationships because you're not out of it yet. And it's like, okay, she's still in it. He or she is still in it. They still need more lessons, obviously. And they're going to keep sending them until you get it. So this leads to, those dead end situations, because there's just too much nervous energy around you to be, self-assured or to strike out on that strong foot. And if we're doing that, we're going to be pushing our own needs and desires, or we're going to continue to be pushing our own needs and desires down and our wants. And in essence, we're running from ourselves. So, there are some levels of avoidance patterns going on here too. Yeah, Cheryl Jones says, facts, stop beating yourself up. Absolutely. Cece woke up engaged. Okay, are you? She says, sends blessing. Yes, please. Absolutely. So, let's get to the root of it. Now that we've spent some time talking about, the hardships or the difficulties and challenges that we're bringing to our life, if we continue to be so hard on ourselves, we need to get to the root of it, which is usually going to be some trauma involved here, or a traumatic childhood, toxic relationship dynamics, and basically unhealthy ways that we're trying to cope with stress, or ways that you try to manage or exist in these relationships. Like if it went back to your childhood, you're relying on this adult for food and a roof over your head. And you kind of had to join in that energy that they were pushing onto you so that you could even exist and manage, So yeah, using those toxic coping methods, which creates other additional difficulties in your life, because we try to put a Band-Aid over one thing and it's a dirty one on top of that. And then it just like grows additional bacteria and creates additional issues or patterns into your life. Cece woke up engaged says it's a bit complicated. Well, I don't want you to say it's a bit complicated. And that's why I'm doing this live chat. I'm trying to simplify it for you. It doesn't have to be complicated. Complicated could insinuate not really understanding, not seeing the full circle of it. And I want you to be able to see that. I don't want it to be complicated to you. And we're going to get into the solutions to this very shortly. If you stick in here with me, we'll get into some of these solutions to it. But it's not really complicated. It's not. So I want you to stop telling yourself that as well, okay? And I'm glad you said that, because the next thing on my list is, what are your thinking patterns? That is the next bullet point here that I was going to mention. So yeah, what are your thinking patterns? But, thinking things like it's a bit complicated. And a few minutes ago, we were talking about the inner dialogues that we could be having with ourselves. We have to start intercepting. And I know, like, when you've been around a lot of negative energy and then you take on that energy yourself, you're just used to letting anything come out of your mouth reckless. And successful people And people who are more in positive energy, they're careful about that. They're very careful about what comes out of their mouth, and then they'll be careful about the people that they hang around. I'm one of those people, like, I think before I speak, I really do. And I try really hard, and no one's perfect with this, but I try really hard not to speak negativity into my life, even if I might feel that way. But I always say feelings aren't facts. I always try to be mindful about what I say, because there is energy in words. There's energy in words. So even if you feel that way, I wouldn't claim it over my life, and I wouldn't be allowing it to come out. And if anything, start intercepting those thoughts. We have a lot of thoughts. Human beings have a lot of thoughts each day. I think they say like 87,000 thoughts. That's a lot of thoughts, all right? So all of these thoughts, number one, they're not yours. I'm going to tell you that. Just because something crosses your mind, it doesn't mean that it's actually your thought. We're subjected to a lot in our environments, including the people that we have in it. And sometimes you might even just be replaying something that negative that someone else said to you, and it ran through your mind, and I would push it right on back on out. Like, push it right on out. I call it rebuking. But whenever something that doesn't serve my life cross my mind, I will intercept it by doing something called rebuking it, denying it, and I'll put something positive in its place. And that's an exercise, a mental exercise that you can start doing with yourself, because you do have a lot of thoughts. And does it mean that everything in life is so sunshine and lollipop, and I can never be in reality to face, oh, something went wrong or to the left? I can't acknowledge it. Of course you can, but by acknowledging it, I can also see what's the solution to it. Well, maybe I did experience that, but I'm going to handle it this way. There's a way out of it. Put some positive light in there. Absolutely, Sassy. She says she tends to overthink and get stuck in her head, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about shortly. So, really determine, hey, have I been actually, is a part of the reason why I'm not getting what I want in my life, I'm not attracting things as I want, is I'm still actually stuck in a negative mind frame, and I'm actually subconsciously, and then at that point, consciously blocking myself from having that. And that's why it's so powerful, you guys, each day to spend time meditating and envisioning the life you want. I'm telling you, you guys, I know that you hear this and people be like, this new age BS and da-da-da. Some of it is BS. It really is. But even in the Bible, it says, so as a man thinketh. So that aspect of it is actually true. There are things that I dreamt about. That's what people say, that is things that they dreamt about that's a reality now. Things that they envisioned in the past that has come to fruition. And how many times, if you're taking every day of your life and you're envisioning these things, and then you put more energy behind it by feeling it as well, feel how happy you're going to be when you reach that end goal, and be satisfied and grateful for all the steps in between. You're putting a lot of positive information behind manifesting something. And then it's not a surprise. Like, I'm sitting here with you guys right now, and there's a vision board hanging above my desk. I always keep it there. The things that I want, I take them out of my mind, and I make a physical manifestation right off the rip by putting them on a vision board. And I'm looking at this every day in my life, all these times a day. And the words, I'm reading them. Sometimes I'll rewrite them again on a note. So it really does make a difference to understand what your thinking patterns are, and to intercept yourself as you need to. But let me read these comments before I go to the next thing. Yes, denounce it, Shirley said. Shirless. Empathy Station 17, setting intentions for catching when we are in the negative thought helps. Yeah, it really does. Valerie Bogan says, can't stop thinking about Narc and his recycled supply and the 5 years of back and forth abuse, prayers needed. haven't slept in 3 days, and he blocked me last July. So it's been since July since you've had no contact, which is good. But obviously, the narcissist is still renting a lot of mental space in your life. Valerie, I think in your situation, if it's been since July and we're now in January and you're really struggling like this, you don't have to go at it alone. I don't know if you're in any type of therapy or, you're getting any type of support outside of yourself and watching YouTube videos. I recommend that all survivors do get therapy or counseling, something. I do offer coaching myself. I would think about making that investment in yourself. You don't have to go at it alone. When I was healing from narcissistic abuse, I had 2 therapists that I went to, and I went into therapy for about 18 months, and it was the best time that I spent investing on myself, and it was extremely helpful in me reaching my sweet spot and breakthrough. So if you're feeling stuck like that, don't go at it alone for sure. All right. But welcome to my channel. I do have over 700 videos here, including a motivational playlist for survivors of narcissistic abuse. I think that one has over 40 videos in it. I would definitely check that out, Valerie. If you also want, there's a special playlist that I have that I usually give to people in coaching sessions. And these were videos that I watched when I was in a healing process. I could email that to you if you email CoachLakia@gmail.com. I'll send you a link to that playlist as well. All right. But yeah, we don't know everything, and it's okay to get wise counsel. All right. But definitely, if you're just here on this channel, you're obviously dedicated to, putting into yourself and trying to do what you can to become unstuck here. But you might have to turn up that knob and level it up a little bit, or add some more things in there, and just be willing. Just, nothing is too good for you at that point. You have to be willing to do that. All right. And that'll help to reduce that mental clutter, because that's what you have right now, a lot of mental clutter. And it also sounds like sometimes we're too busy chasing the cows to build a fence, if you will. Sometimes we really are. And that means, you're really focused on them, that you're not doing the inner work with yourself. So, that could be going on as well. And there's a lot of reasons why, a survivor could be so externally focused, because a lot of times we're looking for that closure. We're trying to find the meaning of it all. And until we get enough of that, we'll be stuck being, too externally focused, when the real focus really just needs to be on ourselves, honestly. Hi, I Davis. How are you doing? And welcome to the live chat. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about, as far as being so hard on yourself and intercepting that, is we definitely going to have to visit our decision-making processes, And you're welcome, Valerie. She says, thank you. I've been addicted to videos daily for 3 years. Okay. Is it helping you enough, though? Because it seems like you're really, really stuck and haven't slept in 3 days. I think you need something a little stronger now, Valerie. Hey, Fritz G. It's good. You're feeding something into yourself, but I don't know if you're really receiving it, the nourishment from the videos as you should. And that distraction over there with them may be a big reason why. Okay. So we're going to have to visit our decision-making process and create a rule of thumb. And this might be helpful for you, Valerie, a rule of thumb. And rules of thumbs are there to help simplify your decision-making process. And this can be equivalent to your boundaries and certain standards that you're setting for yourself. Empath Station 17 says, yes, yes, yes. You are here learning that you are worth being happy and treated better. Set boundaries and stick to them. Yeah, actually really stick to them. actually really stick to them. And that may take a practice when you're not used to sticking to your boundaries, or you're used to giving in to other people, or you're used to being talked out of your wants and needs, and all of that. We're going to be nipping that in the bud. All right. So when you make these rules of thumbs, they're there to help intercept the toxic side of yourself as well. So Valerie, one of your rules of thumbs is going to be, you know what? I'm going to start looking at their social media. But here's the thing, and this is what I teach in the coaching sessions. If you're going to take away one habit, and especially these bad ones, you have to replace it with something else. So don't just tell yourself you're not going to do one thing and not put anything in its place, because that's when you're susceptible to doing it, because now you're just staring at a white wall. So if you say, hey, I'm not going to look at their social media, instead, I'm going to do this. Like, fill something else in that void. Unfill the voids with the toxic behaviors, put something else in its place. And, this is used in all types of areas of life. If I were losing weight and I said, okay, wow, I love to eat fried chicken, I might at first say, all right, I'm not allowed to eat the takeout fried chicken. No more Popeyes, no more KFC. I will have to cook it myself. I can control the amount of salt. I can clean the meat, all of this. And then I might step it up and say, okay, fine. I'll have to fry my own chicken, but I have to fry it in an air fryer now. You see what I'm saying? Now I've taken it to a whole nother level, and I found a healthy way to have that fried chicken. But there's no healthy way really to be checking back on the social media. But it's just going to be, in that case, replacing that behavior with another one. Okay. So the other thing, once you create these rules of thumbs and think about what your standards are, now that's actually going to take some time. And then that's going to be a list that grows over time as you get reconnected with yourself and you see what's going to work for you and what's not. You can just think about those previous relationships and those deal breakers that were present that you really don't need to be dealing with moving forward. Like, for one, if I hate cigarettes, so my life partner don't need to smoke cigarettes at all. That's a deal breaker. That's a rule of thumb for me. I don't deal with people that smoke cigarettes. And it's okay to say that. A lot of times empaths, when they're in toxic energy, they're too much of a free-for-all because they can see the good in everyone. Everyone gets a chance. Nope, we got to be more discriminatory. We have to be exclusive. Okay, survivors on my channel, become exclusive. Become exclusive. Everybody don't get to touch you. Everybody don't get to have a conversation. Everybody don't get to get into your inner circle. None of that. Become exclusive. Become exclusive. All right. So once you're making these rules of thumbs, you guys, I want you to get organized as well. I want you to get organized. Make lists of immediate things that you can do. The diet thing is just so easy for me to use in these examples. Like, I can immediately start drinking more water. In my own life, I don't drink regular juice so much. I'll drink the sparkling waters, the 0 calories. So I replace one thing with another. It'll give me, or if you like soda a lot, drink the sparkling water. There's things that you can do. So you can make the immediate, short-term, and long-term goals. So Valerie, your immediate thing can be, I'm going to stop looking on a social media. Short term, I'm going to try to find a therapist. In this COVID environment, it's probably going to have to be a virtual thing, And then long term, my goal is to have a certain amount of sleep per night and all of that. But immediate, you need to do something as well. Like maybe you could have some melatonin. Maybe you can start having some calming bedtime routine to help you sleep. There's lavender that you can put through a cool mist. That's known to relax you as well. Just start nurturing yourself and that self-care, which is something that's a little further down the list, but immediately you need to be working on that because sleep is vital to life. Okay, you can't go too long without sleeping before you would die. You know what I'm saying? So your brain isn't functioning the way that it needs to be when you're not getting adequate rest, you know? So you really need to hit your doctor up with that. And, when it's these mental things going on, you're going to need some type of coaching or counseling or therapist to help you with that, because that's very important, not sleeping in 3 days. Okay. You got to take that real serious. It starts affecting your organs, your body, everything, the way your brain is functioning. That's very, very serious, sweetie. All right. The next thing on my list, and this is going to be good for you too, Valerie, is knowing what's irrelevant and what's relevant at this point in your life. What's a factor and what is a non-factor? Okay. Because sometimes we make things a factor and actually it really isn't. It really isn't. And at that point, if we decide to just make a choice, make whatever it is a choice. See, a lot of times we take the choices away from ourselves, or we put something in a category and we're not defining that as a choice. It's a choice to go on somebody's social media. It's a choice to let somebody have the power to take your peace. Those are choices that we're making at that point. Those are choices, you guys. So if you break it down to a choice, number one, you're giving yourself that accountability. And then it means I have another choice. Okay, well, that was one choice that I could have handled that situation. All right, when I feel the urge to check that social media again, what is another choice that I can make here? And that choice needs to have a reward with it. And you need to see it as more rewarding on top of that. And when you want more for yourself, and when you see what they're doing is not, what you need to be focused on. Valerie says, yes, I'm addicted to YouTube and Facebook and need to get off because I'm lonely too. Well, what will you be replacing it with? And, number one, and number two, YouTube and Facebook don't have to be negative for you. It's how you're using it that's making it negative, But a lot of people, in 2021 are addicted to technology, period. But it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's how you're using it. And if you're using it in a way that's hurting you, Valerie, then, that's what needs to be intercepted. Because you're on YouTube right now and it's positive for you. You see what I'm saying? So the other thing, you guys, is we need to address our fears and face them and be willing to do that. A lot of times when we're being so hard on ourselves, we're not actually addressing the fears. We're running from them. So once we begin to, practice that self-acceptance and self-care, we're definitely going to be on our way. And that self-acceptance means forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Like I said in the beginning of this chat, we've forgiven the narcissist for horrible things, and we can't forgive ourselves for things. It has to start with us, you guys. It has to start. Because as long as you're not forgiving yourself, you can best believe you're going to be being hard on yourself. And that's one more thing that's renting space in your mind, because you have not forgiven yourself, which means you're not allowing yourself to make any mistakes. Anyone can make a mistake. And even if it's something habitual, you know what? I didn't know any better. I wasn't ready to step out of that at that point. I hadn't reached my rock bottom. Can you imagine people who were like strung out on drugs for 20 years and, they have a lot to forgive themselves for by the end of it. But imagine if they hadn't done that, where would they be right now? And they probably relapse, because the guilt and the shame and, all their fears, all that stuff will be eating them up to the point where, they may not have even been clean long enough to have a stable, healthy outlet to cope with the stress. That person is highly susceptible at that point to relapse. So that's the thing about being so hard on yourself. You're going to push yourself right back in to that situation, The same thing with the diet. Okay, I've been eating good for a month, and then one day I just threw it out the window, which, you're allowed to have a cheat day, but to this perfectionism person, oh no. And then that turns into them feeling bad, and then their one day of cheating turns into 2, 3, 4, and then before you know it, they've gained back the few pounds that they lost because they got stuck and being so hard on themselves, when that one day of cheating probably wouldn't have even gained anything from it. So I just want to say that you can't be so hard on yourself, for Christ's sake. You're just blocking your new beginnings at that point. There's so much waiting for you, especially once you've decided to put that toxic relationship behind you. That's one more step closer to that relationship that will be worth all of the pain that you went through. Okay. And even if, it's that relationship with yourself first and foremost, because once you get solid there, you're going to become your own best friend. And your best friend ain't going to be hard on you. Your best friend is going to be there through it all, no matter who comes and goes and all the ups and downs. But we learn how to have that compassion, you guys. Like, have compassion for yourself. You guys, empaths so easily give it to others. Like, we're there to give other people that. And it's, this huge denial within ourselves. So that really has to change. Oh, well, that's great, Alicia. I'm glad that is helping you. All right. So what is the next thing I have on here to bring up with you guys? Oh, this is a big one. This is absolutely a big one, you guys. I really want you to learn how to make time just for you. Just for you. And during this whole pandemic, it's a great time to actually learn that, because so many things are shut down and limited. It's really giving you a great opportunity to get reacquainted with yourself. Someone asked me yesterday, what are you doing? I was like, well, I brought all the fun to my home, all of the little things. And I'm more introverted than extroverted, even though I can come on here and talk to you guys. But I appreciate my own company, but I wasn't always like that. I struggled with codependency at a time in my life, and it's like I was always looking for love in the wrong places and looking for that validation from all the wrong sources. Like, I barely wanted to make any decision without running it through 3 or 4 friends at one time. Like, my whole independence and I was just so reliant on my external environment, and it's completely the opposite now. I could get lost in myself. I have so many little projects and hobbies and little things that I could do here at home. Like, I'm cool. A lot of people are suffering through this, feeling so isolated through the pandemic, and I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. But just make some time just for you. Just for you. You have 24 hours each day, and making some time just for you, instead of filling it with everyone else tugging at you and their needs and desires. And I know some of us are mothers and we have families and we're working from home, which might even have you be working more hours. Now that you're not commuting, you're probably working a little bit more, huh? So there's a lot going on, you guys, but we have to be dedicated out of that self-care and self-love to make time just for you, and be unapologetic about it. Be matter of fact about it, to your husbands and wives, to your children and your family and friends. Oh, no, that's my me time. And if it has to be a schedule, you could schedule it in. That's good. Scheduling it in may make it more susceptible to happen, but either way, know that you deserve that you time, and use it to self-reflect, use it to meditate, use it to do something that makes you happy, use it to do something on your bucket list, something that brings you joy, something that recenters you, something that calms you as well. Or, doing that work on yourself. You deserve that. You deserve that. So for all of you who aren't doing that, please do. Please start doing that. It'll make you a better person for everyone else. So the next thing, you guys, I want you to find your inner positive voice. I want you to find that. I want you to find that voice. It's somewhere in there. And ways to find that is thinking about, what are you good at? What are your gifts? What are the positive things about you? And, start leaning on that to start. But find your inner positive voice. Alicia says, I still have problems loving myself, taking care of myself. It is weird because I have this endless energy when it comes to taking care of others, but not myself. Yeah, it's a habit. You've been programmed somewhere in your life to be a major caretaker. But the good thing is, you know how to take care of, because you do it for others. You just have to, and you're in those type of situation, you're going to have to force yourself. I bought this beautiful journal of self-care, and it has like 365 pages, and you don't even have to do all of that. And each day it allows for me to write down the things that I did just for me. It gives me that opportunity to go into that space. So in those type of cases, you're going to have to force yourself, because you're just not even used to it. That means being so mindful about it. Force yourself. Make a schedule. And it doesn't have to be, when I say make time for yourself, we're not talking about hours and hours. Even if you start out by saying, you know what, I'm going to meditate 2 minutes per day. That's a start. If you start out by saying, I'm going to do some mirror work. What is mirror work? I'll explain really quickly. I love red lipstick. I will take that red lipstick, and there's a mirror. I will write beautiful things to myself. I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am love. I am abundance. All my needs are met. I'll stand in front of that mirror each day and read those things to myself and more. I talk positive to myself. It really works. It psychologically works, you guys. And you go to this mirror and look yourself in your eyes and consider it talking to your inner child, talking to your wounded self or that broken aspect of yourself. It works over time. You're going to begin to feel that. Look yourself in the eyes, like you're staring into your soul. It really does help. So that's also, something that you can do. You can start journaling, and journaling is beautiful. And when I go back and read some of my journals, I see the mental space that I was in when I was journaling through my healing process versus where I am now. Like, boy, I would never be in that. I wouldn't dare think that way now, but you were there. It allows you to be able to see your progress, and writing can actually be very therapeutic too. So that's a great thing to consider as well. I kept a dream journal, because some of us have more vivid dreams than others, but I'm one of those people where messages do tend to come to me through my dreams, and I write them down, and I can go back and see what was going on at that time. All right. So there's little exercises and little things that you can implement with yourself each day. And when I say make the time for yourself, it doesn't have to be hours at one time. If you can, hey, that's great too. But it could be, hey, 3 minutes, 3 times a day. I stop, I take deep breaths, I recenter, I envision and speak positive over my life. I take a moment to have gratitude for what I'm accomplishing, the things that I'm getting done. I tell myself that I'm worthy all the time, because you are. You are, especially after all of that. You have to go for your reward. You don't go through narcissistic abuse without having that reward coming to you. Like, the universe sees it all. They've seen all that, all the hurt that you felt, and it's wanting to give you the opposite end of that stick. Okay. So we're all a work in progress. And that's, when we're being so hard on ourselves, we may be, not acknowledging that aspect. We're all a work in progress till the day that we die, a work in progress. But God is not expecting us to be perfect, or else, he wouldn't have died for our sins and all of that. He's not expecting that, but he does want us to get better. He does want us to grow because he has a greater purpose for us, and he can't get to it if we're not, if our minds aren't open and we're not being that vessel where it can be free flowing for him to be able to use us. Okay. So let's begin to practice that self-patience as well, because some of us aren't very patient with ourselves, and stemming out of that perfectionism thing, if we're not getting it right away, it's like, it's like a reminder of how imperfect you are, and that's okay. What did Kanye West say? He was imperfectly perfect. Yeah, I like that. I'm imperfectly perfect. And that's beautiful. And that's how someone who may have freckles on their chin, and it's just beautiful, a beauty mark here that someone else doesn't have. Like, embrace what you think is weird about yourself. That's your uniqueness. That's, you embrace it. Okay, I had a C-section with my twins. My C-section scar is not ugly to me. I embrace all sides of me. As a matter of fact, I have honor in that, because I have a mad respect for anyone who has carried multiples. I carried them babies to 9 months. They were both over 5 pounds. I earned those babies. So I'm proud of that. That C-section scar is honor to me, and sometimes it's just the way that we're perceiving things. I had a girlfriend who was turning 40, and she cried. She cried. To her, that meant old, and I'm like, whoa, it's babies that don't even get to see one. Like, you're aging beautifully. Like, wisdom can come with age. And look, I've seen some 40-year-old women that could put 20-year-old women to shame. Okay. So it's about the self-care. It's about the perceptions that we're holding with things. Empathy Station 17 says, yes, there are a lot of us that comes from having two narcissists for parents, for me, but being on here, coming together helps, learning how to take care of ourselves too. Yes, absolutely. And Shirley Jones says, we are imperfect people. God is the only perfect one. Absolutely. But we don't have to be perfect. We don't. That's the beauty of it all. But, we are supposed to be getting better. You shouldn't be the same at 60 as you were at 18. You shouldn't be on the same foolishness. No. So, no more undermining your success and happiness. We're going to get out of overthinking, and we're going to stop waiting for life to come to us. And we're going to give ourselves permission, to live, you guys. Give yourself permission. Give yourself permission. Like I said a few moments ago, make it a choice. Like, what are you choosing to do? And that means we're going to be more in our logic than we are in our emotions. Does it mean that we can't feel? No, it doesn't mean that we can't feel. Oh, thank you, Valerie. Aw. So I'm going to open up the floor right now to anyone that has any questions. I've pretty much covered and said what I needed to say in this live chat. If you have any questions, it's a great time. Live chats are a great time to ask me questions. I'll give it a moment to see if anyone has any questions on anything. It could be about today's topic, or on life, on your relationship, on how you're feeling. Any question is fine. Well, all right, you guys. I don't see any comments right now. Okay, hold on. I Davis. I Davis says, if you're still in the thick of the relationship, how do you go about people not believing you or nothing considering or not considering it abuse, perhaps only because it's not physical abuse? Right. Well, if it's not something legally happening where you're trying to convince a judge or a police officer or something of that nature, then you can just shed yourself of needing to have them believe you and understand that those people are not your friends, even if it's your own family or friends. And if you're trying to convince their family and friends, then just stop. I made a video on that yesterday and how apples fall from trees and how those people who are their family and friends are vested in taking their side. And that's fine, no matter how much of a friend they said they were to you or how close you believe you got to them during that relationship with that toxic person. Um, they can become informants, they can be flying monkeys. Definitely stop trying to convince them. All they're probably doing, especially if they're on the narcissist end of the relationship or you met them through the narcissist, is they're just going to run back and tell them everything that you're telling them. So it's okay. We can release ourselves from needing that validation and understanding. The main thing is that a lot of times, we want to speak up when people come and tell us, hey, such and such is saying this and that. And then if you tell them your side and they're still not believing you, then they're just not for you. And that's okay. Everybody in your life, all the connections you make, it'll be revealed to you who's for you and who's not for you. And now that you're going to, you're still in the thick of it, but eventually, once you get out of this situation, that narcissist isn't the only one that you're going to have to cut ties with. You'll find that you made other toxic connections as well. And you can think back to who really had your back and who was on your side. Because a real friend or someone that really loves you should know your heart, should know how you move, and they shouldn't even really be questioning you. They should know better. But if you had to clarify it, that certainly should have been enough for them. So you don't have to, you have enough, places to put your energy in at that time, Davis. So you can let go of needing to convince people who aren't for you anyway, let go of needing that. And it's okay. Just because they believe the wrong things about you, it doesn't make it true. You see what I'm saying? And nobody likes to be slandered. Nobody likes to be smeared, especially publicly and within groups of peoples and organizations and whatnot. But it happens all the time. But you can hold tight to your truth and just know that those people aren't for you, and lean on the people that are. Lean on your real support system at this time. That's the best thing that you can do. And yeah, a lot of people do have a limited and their limited emotional maturity. And although people are starting to have awareness about narcissistic abuse, there isn't enough of it. So a lot of people really only consider physical abuse the main abuse, even in the court system. Like, there aren't really laws against narcissists, honestly, or that psychological and tangible abuse that you can't touch, but that is, could be even more powerful, honestly, because your mind is a very powerful muscle. And, your brain can actually experience damages as a result of that toxic relationship. Not irreversible, but damages nonetheless. Chrissy C says they always lie. They have no truth in them. Yeah. Yep. Lie, still destroy. That's what they're coming to do. But the beauty of that is they can then become that catalyst for you once your eyes are open to that aspect of things. Alicia S says, exactly. It is so hard to explain how they make us feel just because we don't show any physical sign of abuse. It's not hard to explain it. It's just that a lot of people may minimize it who haven't experienced it, Sometimes when they haven't experienced it, oh, you're making a big deal out of nothing. Oh, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. They may tend to minimize it because they can't relate and they're not therapists and, they haven't experienced it themselves. So sometimes people don't understand things until it hit homes for them. And, unfortunately, that's a reality of human nature at times. And Chrissy C said, she was in her relationship for 20 years. Yeah, that's a long time, Chrissy. So I'm sure that you have a lot to sort through. And she says, and then he just stopped until I decided, well, anyway, he said I better control. Not sure if I know what you're saying there, but, it sounds like he was physically beating you. And I'm sorry to hear that. That's very extensive. I hope that, you have a good support system to help you through this time. Faith Believes says, I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to move forward after the narc, but how do I handle when my family keeps asking questions about what he's doing, and who he is with? You have a nosy family, Faith. Faith, honey, and for everyone else, you can set boundaries. A lot of times survivors are we're so open and honest, and that's fine. But then, we're this open book as well, and people are used to running over our boundaries, getting in all of our business. You can set a boundary. You know what? I don't want to talk about it, or what he's doing and who he's doing it with is no longer my concern or yours. Like, set those boundaries with your family member. You don't have to be nasty about it, but just set a boundary of what they are invited to and what they're not invited to. I'm not talking about him anymore. Just set that boundary. Hey, Deepak Sharma. Yeah, we have to set our boundaries. Just because someone asks you a question, it certainly means that you are not obligated to answer it. Even if it's coming from your family and friends, if it's none of their business, it's none of their business. And then these type of questions could be or feel triggering to you at that time in the healing process. So you can set your own boundaries. I myself am a very private person, generally speaking. So I could be going through all types of things and it's private to me. And I'd almost rather go into therapy to talk about it than, go on a public platform, if you will, or even amongst my family and friends. So Chrissy C says, yeah, it was 33 years. Hold on, I'm just reading the comment. And she's basically alluding to the fact that the narcissist has converted her daughter into a flying monkey. How old is your daughter, Chrissy? $31. And is he her father? Well, Chrissy, your daughter has had the opportunity to grow up with both you and him. And if she's still siding with the father, it may be an indication either that she's completely confused, as he's made her like a golden child type of thing, or she may have some NPD in her as well. But she's 31 years old. So a lot of times survivors have to let go of titles, honestly. Mm-hmm. Just let it go. Let go of needing her to see things. Because at 31, 3 decades of her growing up and seeing him abuse you and do this and that, and she's still siding with him. Yeah, she has some inner work to do within herself if she's not a narcissist herself. So, because she's had a bad influence with him for all her life as well. And because you were in such a submissive role, he was the dominant influence in her life. So if she's not a narcissist herself, she has a lot of toxicity inside of her. And it's not your battle to, it's not your cross to bear, Chrissy, even though it's your daughter. She has to see things for herself. And I'm sure that you've already had many of conversations with her. So at this point, now that you know that she is partial to him, obviously, you're going to have boundaries with her and, not be telling her your innermost thoughts or things that she's just going to run back and tell him, Sorry to hear that, but sometimes our children, they be in the wilderness at times as well. But lean on the people in your life that do love you, that do get you, and that do care about you. That's the best thing that you can do, Chrissy. So KJ is talking about dreams with the new supply. I have a very popular video on my channel, you guys, about dreams and the narcissist. Perhaps I could put that link under here for you guys, for KJ and Valerie or anyone else. So Chrissy is saying she thinks he's had the grandchildren, have them turning against you as well. So your daughter's children, which, now they're under the influence of their mother. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really horrible when they find someone to scapegoat in the family. And it sounds like they could be doing that with you, Chrissy. And I'm not sure what your daughter's payoff is in this. There must be something that she's feeling as a payoff for her to side against you. And, her children are under her influence as well. So, yeah, that's a lot, Chrissy. It's a lot. But this is the time where, no matter who it is, you just have to see things as light or dark. Either you're with the light or you're with the dark. Either you're with me or you're not. And even when it comes down to your own daughter and grandchildren, because dark energy can be anywhere. I mean, all you can do as far as your grandchildren is continue to be a light, continue to show them your love if you have access to them, and do not talk about their mother poorly or the father. That's the best thing that you can do. I always tell people, and your grandchildren aren't your children, but for those people out there who had children that they had to co-parent with the narcissist, don't talk bad about the narcissist, but increase your child's emotional maturity. You can teach them about toxic people without talking directly about the toxic person you're trying to actually really help them from, in a side type of manner. So you feel like your daughter is controlling your ex-husband, perhaps? Anisha Vishna says, I went to his dad after the discard to give my side of the story. We have a 6-year-old together. He was cheating with his friend's wife. Horrible. His dad told me to get out of his yard and never come back. Absolutely. Yeah. I know that probably really sucked, Anisha, but it was his father. And he may be one of them too. That's the thing. And then a lot of people don't want to get in the middle, but it's okay. Just keep it moving at that point. And like I said, lean on your real support system and don't try to make their side of the family, their friends and family, don't even consider it your support system. Trust me on that. Anything that you say to them, they're going to take up for them, or, they'll be informants for the narcissist. Yeah. I don't know about your daughter controlling a narcissist. There's ways we can manipulate a narcissist, but at the end of the day, it could just be two toxic people, thriving off of one another, bouncing off of one another. Absolutely not. Faith said you can't trust their family. It's very true. You cannot. You cannot. And it's okay. No matter how much they kikied in your face and laughed and act like you were a part of the family, trust me, when it's all said and done, they're going to side with that narcissist, or they're going to be neutral. No, they're not going to be neutral, but they're not going to say nothing. They're not going to have nothing to do with it, or they're going to completely side with them. Empath Station 17 says we don't have a side. We don't have a side of the story when it comes to dealing with narcs. We have to learn to let go of that story and focus on our own healing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Chrissy said, yeah, feeding off of each other. Because that's how two enemies can come together. They have a common goal. We're going to make Chrissy the fall guy. Chrissy is always the problem. And as long as we do that, none of any problems are our own. You see what I'm saying? So that can be very well what's happening here. Which means that you have to keep your boundaries and walk in your self-care and self-love and do what's in your own self-best interest. Do what's in your best interest. Empaths have a hard time with that. Do what's in your best interest. Your best interest. And being so hard on yourself is definitely not in your best interest. All right, you guys, it was great chatting with you guys on this live chat. I will be doing more frequent live chats. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit the button, subscribe, then hit the bell to be notified, because I don't have a set schedule, you guys. And, you'll get that notification. If you've been subscribed, just revisit that, your bell is still hit. Always make sure that you're hitting the like button, you guys, because this really helps the channel grow. All right. I want more people to find a channel like this. There's a lot of garbage channels. This one, it's really here to help people. So the more people that can find out, the better. If we all hit the like button, that puts energy behind YouTube and the algorithm to help push the content out. All right. You're welcome to everyone. Aw, hey from Trinidad. I always wanted to visit there. I don't know how traveling is going to work out in today's world. Okay. And greetings from Brussels. Wonderful. I'm telling you, this channel has really exposed me to people from all corners of the world. All corners of the world. And that's beautiful to me. But we're all united as a human race here, and we understand these situations. Awesome. All right, you guys. For those of you who jumped in at the end, YouTube will re-upload it, but I believe you have the ability to just go back and start from the beginning anyway. But take care, you guys. Never, ever give up on yourself. Continue to do the work. And until next time, you guys, please take care. Enjoy your Sunday and make some time just for you.